Hey guys, Daggerlad here. Today I want to do a video about something that's been on my mind a lot lately, and that is the statement of comparing chronic illness to a journey. And this usually happens, when you encounter an acquaintance or a family friend or family member, and you tell them about your health issues or whatnot, in particular chronic health issues. And their response is, what a journey you've been on. What a journey you're going on right now. And after getting that response from people and browsing around YouTube and the internet and just hearing people basically compare their chronic illness to a journey, it's kind of rubbing me the wrong way. That's the best way I can describe it. It's just kind of pissing me off. Because chronic illness is not a fucking journey. I'm just going to say that point blank. A journey implies a beginning, a middle, and an end. Or some sort of odyssey or something. On some of my worst days, the farthest I go from my bed is like 15 feet out the door onto the deck, or 15 feet that way to the bathroom to shower and whatnot and back. I would not call that a fucking journey. Now I know it's kind of like a metaphorical journey, so maybe there's something to that. But even then, that's still not the case. If you want to call a temporary illness a journey, I could understand that. There's the beginning. Let's say you break your wrist or something. You have your beginning, then there's a middle part. Maybe you have surgery, you get a cast, you have a recovery period, and then there's an ending after 6 weeks, a couple months. You get your cast off, go to physical therapy, and then you go back to your normal activities in the world with hopefully a better understanding of yourself, your body, and kind of just life in general. That's a journey. I could understand that. But chronic illness is inherently not that. There's a beginning. You felt normal one day maybe, and then the next day you come down with flu-like symptoms that don't go away, or whatever your symptoms are with your chronic illness. Then there's a middle part where you go to the doctor, you try treatment, but then the treatment doesn't resolve your issue. And because of that, there's no ending. And I think without the ending, you can't have a journey. The only end to most chronic illnesses is death. So after you die, if you want to call that a journey, then I'm fine with that too, but to call chronic illness itself a journey is just inherently, I think, damaging to what chronic illness does to people. I think a better way to compare it to some sort of odyssey, if you want to compare it to that at all, is that you're lost at fucking sea. And people will again say, well, you're still thinking of chronic illness as a physical thing, because, with the beginning, middle, and end to your physical illness, and that there is some sort of journey, emotionally or mentally or spiritually. And I have learned some things from my chronic illnesses, but not enough to the extent where I'd call that sort of realizing a new concept, a journey. And beyond that, the things that I've learned from chronic illness are things that I would have learned naturally, I think. So, for example, back when I was healthy, I was 20, I was basically at the prime of my life. I was 175 pounds, which for my height would be considered clinically overweight, but that was all muscle. I was working out every day, I was hiking probably 100 miles a week on average, skateboarding almost every day. I was finally doing well in school and at the workplace for the first time in my adult life, and I was, also doing well with the ladies, which was a first for me as well as an introvert. And because of all those factors coming together, I kind of had an ego. I wouldn't consider myself back then a full-blown dick or anything. I've never been a person who likes being rude or putting down others. Even when I had an ego, that's not something I did at all. But I would consider myself back then probably mildly douchey. Just the way I spoke about myself, the way I talked, I was just kind of arrogant, you could say. I just thought I was cool, and in some ways, I was kind of cool, but I shouldn't have let that have gotten to my head the way it did, because basically I was starting to treat people like if they weren't at my level of physical performance or, willpower performance or, as motivated as I was, basically. If they weren't at my level in motivation, then I kind of didn't want to be around them. And because of that, I let some important people in my life around that time, I didn't cut them off or anything, but I didn't spend enough time with those people, as I should have, because I thought, in order for me to keep challenging myself and upping my personal performance, I have to surround myself with people who are also, are at similar performances as I was. So in that way, I would consider myself back then as having a bit of an ego and being kind of douchey, if not a full-blown dick. Not that full-blown dick. In some ways, the universe maybe did need to teach me a lesson. But my ego, when I got injured, and within a few weeks of being in my physical prime, was left bedridden, my ego completely dissolved within 6 weeks of that experience. And at first my expected recovery was about 6 weeks to a few months. So if I would have had the temporary physical illness like they thought I did, I would have learned my lesson from that temporary illness. But instead, that illness progressed, where I still deal with the same chronic pain, even worse than I did when I first got injured. And it's probably never going to go away. So it's like the universe needed to teach me a lesson because I was being a bit douchey. And, it could have given me a light but direct kick in the balls. But instead it just came down and fucking smashed me under its thumb, and, now I'm just sitting here and I can't help but think that, I was being a little bit douchey, but now the universe is going to be this way. The universe is a fucking dick, They totally, whatever it is, God, universe, some higher intelligence, whatever, they just, instead of teaching me a lesson with a little bit of tough love, they just completely destroyed who I was. And of course, your identity getting completely destroyed is also a lesson within itself, but that's a lesson that we will almost virtually all learn as we age, as we get older, as our body decays naturally. So again, I can't help but think that was kind of overkill and not a lesson I needed to learn to that extent at this period in my life. So, in the end, what's the point of it all? And I guess that's the final element that kind of pisses me off about people calling chronic illness a journey, is that saying it's a journey basically implies that it has meaning, because journeys are meaningful. And more often than not, I can't help but feel that my chronic illnesses are not meaningful. Sure, they are to an extent, but I could have learned these lessons either in a different way that's less extreme, or at the end of my life, as we all do. And sure, I still have some ways to go with learning how to deal with my chronic illnesses and how to show vulnerability, and but again, that's something we're all going to have to deal with as we grow older. So, if you're out there and you have a chronic illness and you want to, think of it as a journey, well, that's your choice. Go ahead. But if you're from the outside looking in and you get the urge, whether consciously or subconsciously, to call someone's chronic illness a journey, I implore you to think twice about it. And also, if you are one of those people who do call your illness a journey, then maybe you should think twice about that as well. But again, in the end, it's your choice. And if you want to make a response to this video, go ahead. I'm all open ears here. So that's all I have for you today. Stagger Lad. Hopefully the next video won't be this dour. So, in fact, I can almost guarantee it won't, because we got some fun travel vlogs coming your way pretty soon. Alright, until next time, talk to you later.